finally, I have prevailed and I am making a sit down video after so long. I have so much to say. I've been a bridesmaid 5 times in my life and I'm still not married. Relax, relax. I'm joking. Or not? So I haven't just seen that videos in a while. Why, you might ask? Number one, because I think vlogs are kind of like more interesting and more engaging. Number two, I struggled with like a creative block, what to post, what to create. Number three, I kind of struggled with the idea that I was interesting. Some might argue and say I'm fun and I'm a clown, but yeah, personally, I think that went through my mind. And then five, I was trying to, before I have been working on my editing skills. It kind of like stalled me for a while, but then I'm giving it a shot regardless. So I heard it's fun. Hey, for that they will not say there's no light now. God, I beg. Oh, I'm seeing a lot. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Purple Related and I am your host, Shay Baba. If this is your first time, thank you for clicking on that video. If this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. You're the real MVP and I appreciate you. So first up, a quick life update. Since my last sit down video, or I don't know, a lot of things have happened, over the past few weeks, months. First off, I finished NYC. Whoop, whoop. That 1 year was very long, very stressful, but God helped us and I am done. I'm changing careers as well. So along with my NYC job, I left that and I'm not practicing law anymore, at least for the meantime. I'm now a project manager, and so I'm trying to like navigate life in the project management space. I turned 24 last month and it was great. I've been telling my friends that 24 is my year of boldness because I've been doing a lot of otherwise daring things, but yeah, that's by the way. 3 of my girls got married. If you watched the sleepover video, then you saw that 2 of them were already married, 1 was engaged. Now 3 of them are married and her wedding was last month. It was amazing. It was so fun. Kind of also inspired this video. Yeah, we became 500 subscribers on this channel. Whoop, whoop. I haven't been the most consistent in posting, so that's kind of like a big deal as well, because when last I checked in January we were like 400 and then 100 people have subscribed since then, and hopefully I'm more consistent. I'm actually like trying to be more intentional and deliberate about putting out content. Oh, and I started driving on the express. If you know me, that's a big deal for me, even though the other day somebody hit me sharp, but it's okay, it's Lagos, is expected. I shook it off and I'm ready to go again. So yeah, basically that's the life update. So into the video. So I guess you can also kind of call it like things I have learned in my 24 years of living anyhow. So it's in like 2 parts. The first part is like the more surface level things. Then the second part is the more like deep life lessons. So I'm going to be starting with the first part. Now the first part is more tailored to the bridesmaids thing, attending so many weddings and being a bridesmaid 5 times. And so I'm going to be talking about like a couple of things I have learned. They are kind of like pros and cons, but I'm not going to separate them, so this video is not too long. I'm just going to merge them together and talk about them at the same time. So number one, having a bridal train can be very expensive and stressful because you're coordinating at least 4 to 10 people, and they have to buy their dresses, matching hair, matching shoes, matching jewelry, matching everything, and then there's the guy side and the girl side, and then it can be very stressful, but most of the time the stress is worth it. But then if you feel like you would prefer to have more wedding gifts, then maybe you wouldn't want to do a bridal train. If you feel like your friends can afford both, sure. But I personally think if you want more wedding gifts, the money that they will spend, because most times they're spending like 50k, 60k, 70k, because it's a whole package. There is the trad wedding, the white wedding, there is the bridal shower, there is the everything, and then transportation. So the cumulative amount is a lot. If you would rather people just give you the money or support your wedding registry, then that's also good as well. So the second thing is, if you do decide to have a bridal train, it's an opportunity to bond physically and spiritually with your friends, because the last the last wedding I was a bridesmaid for, it was amazing. We slept over at the hotel. We just stayed. I made new friends. We prayed together. We laughed. We bonded. Slept in different places, and it was a really fun experience for me. So having a bridal train is like an opportunity to bond with your friends, because the bride, some of her friends literally flew into the country for her wedding, and then those people, she hadn't seen them in a while, and it was just good to like have everybody together. Like a friend of mine said, weddings are kind of like reunions, because you see people you haven't seen in a long time and all of that. On the bonding spiritually, it's important to have people that are on the same wavelength with you, because I also attended the wedding where we were struggling to um make sure that the outfits were church compliant. So you want people that think on the same level as you, know that you are fighting with your bridesmaids because all of them want to wear rubbish, and you are like, they'll chase you out of the church, and my parents this, my parents that. So you should have people that are also like considerate of those things, also value those things, right? They understand that this is a one-time thing. It's not my wedding, it's yours. I don't want your parents stressing you because of what I'm wearing or because of what I'm doing. I understand that I have to be early. I understand that I have to be this. So it's important to have responsible people that are on the same wavelength with you, spiritually and responsibility wise as well. Three is that the energy is most oftentimes needed. So now you don't really need a bridal train to have energy. Once your friends are at the wedding, they should give you energy, but there's just something about the train. The last wedding I was a bridesmaid for, the energy was on another level. It was amazing. The bride was surrounded, and you just realize that when you're getting tired of dancing, of everything, and your girls start hyping you, the energy will just come. So having a bridal train can do a lot to amplify the energy at your wedding. So a fourth thing I learned, not necessarily bridal train related, but it was possible to not be late. So it kind of like seemed like a, what's the word, a tradition or like a curse. I don't want to say curse is too serious. Like it seemed like it was impossible to be early to the church. Almost all the weddings I attended, the parents would always be calling, would be trying to calm the bride down, try to calm the groom down, hurry them up. But the last wedding I attended, shout out to you, Dolapo, like we were early to the church, and the church wedding was just like 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and we were done. And I was so surprised, like, but then it was refreshing to have gotten there early. And I think the hack to that is putting the time of the church at like 11, because most times when the church is by 9 or 10, you will be late because you want to take pictures, the photographers want to do their thing, videographers, you want to have memories, because at the end of the day you don't want to have rushed off on your wedding morning and then there is no picture to show for it. So you would want to have like, all the memories, all the pictures you can get. So it's important that there's enough time for that. So having the church at like 11, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. It made so much sense. We got there in good time. In fact, we got there before the ceremony started. We sat down, we had a moment to catch our breath before the procession started. So it was really good. So that's kind of like it for the first part of this video, but I'm kind of hungry. So let's get something to eat before we go into the second part. Whew, now that I've eaten, let's hope I can still function. So I got an analogy, right? I was frying plantain the other day, and I was learning life lessons from frying plantain. So picture this. I put all of them in at the same time, right? And then they started to fry. But some got browner earlier than others. It could have been because of their thickness or thinness. The thin ones will get cooked faster than the fat ones, or it could have been as a result of the intensity of the heat on the part of the frying pan they were at, because the ones that were directly on top of the burner will be hotter than the ones that are like at the edge. So different reasons, but some got browner than others. And then when they were brown enough to my satisfaction, I flipped them and then I removed them. So this was like an analogy for me about life and timing, right? We might all be the same age, we might be from the same place, go to the same schools, but when it comes down to it, we're all different. Our paths, our assignments, the way we will carry them out, our resources are all different. So we might start life at the same time, put all the plantain in the fry pan at the same time, but different things will influence different people's speed. So, for example, the heat now, it's kind of like external things that you cannot control that speed up or slow down your process. For example, your family, your inheritance, wealth, connections, or maybe just the grace of God upon your life. But these are things that you can't really affect, as the plantain on the fire. You can't really determine how hot the fire is. It's the person that put you there that determines it, right? Flipping them as I deem fit. So let's picture this. Let's assume I'm God. So now God is in control of everything, right? And He determines what will happen to people and when they will happen. He's the one that determines when you are brown enough to be flipped. He's the one that determines when you are cooked enough to be removed. So God determines when what will happen to who. At the end of the day, life is happening to us at the same time at different intensities, but life is happening regardless. And so I reflected on it, right? And like I said, I've been a bridesmaid 5 times. The first time was for my sister, I was chief. Second time was for my friend's elder sister, I was a bridesmaid. Third time was for my friend, I was chief. Fourth time was for my second friend, Precious. So the first friend was Joy, second friend was Precious, I was a bridesmaid, and the third friend was Dolapo, the latest one that happened last month, I was a bridesmaid. So being a bridesmaid, like about 5 times, you can imagine that I've been to weddings, in fact twice as many weddings as I have been bridesmaids at. And I have also seen life happen to people. I have seen people I know, people I don't know, celebrate wins, celebrate victories, accomplish great things in life. And so there can be a temptation to look at your life and be like, God, am I spoon? Don't you love me anymore? God, have you forgotten me here? So it can be very tempting to reflect on your own life and feel like nothing seems to be working out, or you aren't achieving as much. But along with this plantain analogy, generally I have learned a couple of things and I will be sharing them right about now, like 6 things that helped me out, because there is a better way to process these emotions. There is a more productive way to process these emotions, a more effective posture to have whilst going through life in this manner, so that you're not at a disadvantage, or so that you're not constantly down or depressed or sad. Number one, the God that did it for them can and will do it for you. Have you heard that phrase that, when God is blessing your neighbor, it means God is in the neighborhood? And if God is in the neighborhood, there's a very good chance that He will reach your side as well. So it's important to always remember that, it's the same person that is flipping all of us in the frying pan, and eventually He will get to you. Number two, our paths are different. Now, as much as it would be nice to have what they have, where they have it, how they have it, God might just have different plans for you, right? And different plans, even down to the how, down to the what, down to the when. So it's important to realize that, like I said before, we are different. We might have been born on the same day, gone to the same schools, been friends with the same people, but everybody is different. The way God will have us, fulfill purpose, the how will most likely be different as well. So it's important to have this at the back of your mind. Number three, our timings are different. Now, it's the same way once upon a time I couldn't braid my hair, right? In high school, my mom did not trust hairstylists. She didn't want just anybody putting their hand on my head and attaching what she doesn't know to my scalp. So everybody else in SS3 had braids and I didn't. And so there's temptation to feel left out, and you're like, what's happening, safe? But I mean, look at us now. And so um it applies to almost all the stages of my life. There was one time I didn't have a smartphone, everybody else was on social media. I think this was SS1 or 2, and they were cracking inside jokes about what they had been talking about online, and I was clueless. And I was like, where's my own phone? Where's my own Twitter account? But now I have a phone, I have a Twitter account. The same way in uni, I was desiring to drive, because I had friends that were driving, that would drive to class, and I was there either hitching a ride with them or having to use cab or having to walk, and I was like, what's this? But then now I'm the same person that I started driving. I'm even driving on the express. So different things will happen at different times for different people. Just because it's happening and it's at a certain time for someone doesn't mean it will never happen for you. It might just be around the corner. It might even be longer. But then trusting God's timing for you is the best place to be mentally. Number four, you don't know what went down behind the scenes. I feel like everybody is going through a lot. Like, you might think that because people only post the good things, people only post their wins, it might just be because you're not close enough to see the ugly sides. But everybody goes through a lot. And so to think that, oh, this person is doing this, so what about me? They always have it nice for them, they always win, they always get what they want. It's not the best. It's an assumption. It's not the best mentality to have, because trust me, everybody is going through a lot. And just because they are not going through exactly what you're going through, when you're going through it, how you're going through it, doesn't mean they are not. Or just because you can see them going through it doesn't mean they are not. Sometimes what they're even going through is worse than your own situation. And so we tend to covet people's wins, but not their background, not their backstory, not their struggles, not the why do words fail me now? Not the obstacles they've had. We just want to win like they've won. We don't want to go through the sleepless nights they went through, the money they spent, the tears they cried. So a lot of times when you hear people's backstories, you realize that they actually deserve to win. They actually deserve whatever it is that they're celebrating, because they've been through a lot. So we are all going through a lot. Let us all go through it and come out of it. We will all go through it and come out of it at some point. Number five, God loves me and he wants the best for me. Now, a lot of times we forget that God loves us more than we love ourselves. He knows us more than we know ourselves. He wants the best for us, even more than we want for ourselves. And God's plan, God's purposes, God's best is usually the best. I mean, there's even no question to that. It's really much better than our plans and our purposes and our contemplations. The way he just thought things out is, when you look back in retrospect, you'll be like, wow, God, so you were doing this all along, and I was there fretting, I was there, complaining and all. And I learned earlier this week or last week that we have to measure success by God's parameters and not ours. That just because, let me use a random example, somebody got a car or has become a CEO or has gone for masters, doesn't mean if you achieve the exact same thing you will be successful in God's eye. So bottom line is, I mean, I know God wants good things for us, you should always believe that, but bottom line is understanding God's plan for your own life and what success means for him, for you, like means to him for you. So your own success might be something different from another person's own. So it's not just enough to achieve what they are achieving, and then at the end of the day, God is like, the main thing I wanted you to do, you did not do. And so, where does that now leave you? So it's important to understand God's plan for your life and God's picture of success for you, and then work towards that instead, and everything else will be added onto you, or could be added onto you, according to the will of God. Number six, it's better and more productive to count your blessings, be grateful for them, and pour yourself into the things that you are currently doing. Occupying your mind with hard work so that opportunities meet you prepared. Because a lot of times we're not as jobless, hopeless, aimless, directionless as we might think. A lot of times God has given us things to do, but maybe because they seem small at the moment, you now despise them and you're looking at somebody else's harvest when you're still in your seed level. So it's important to occupy, because when your mind is filled with all the things God will have you do, and you're constantly thinking of how to improve, how to achieve them, how to pursue them, the time that you use to see people and be covetous will reduce. It will most likely still be there because you're human, but it will reduce drastically because you are working on something. And the more you work at it, the more potential you see, the more results you see, and the more you realize that, okay, so there is something going on in my own life. God will have me do this and do this and do that. It's better to pour yourself into that instead. Because at the end of the day, grace plus hard work is what makes the dream work. And then healthy comparison should actually encourage you. So comparison is unhealthy when it leaves you feeling less of yourself, leaves you with this impossibility mindset that it's not possible, or leaves you feeling envious or downtrodden or sad. Healthy comparison will have you say, you know what? If this person can do it, I can do it, I'm encouraged. Or if God did it for this person, I'm encouraged. A friend of mine said it one day, and I think I mentioned it sometime in one video, that the mentality she has when she sees creatives doing beautifully is, if this person can do this, I can also work hard enough to do something similar or even better. So even if you are silently praying every time you watch a wedding that, God, when will I be married? Or you're wondering why you're still job hunting or at square one when your mates are CEOs, or you're still fighting with the idea of a master's when some of your friends have already moved out of the country. Regardless of what it is, always remember that we might fry at different intensities, we might finish frying at different times, but we'll all fry regardless. That sounds like a bad thing, but you get my point. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know how you've been like handling adulting comparisons and how you cope with things. Let me know if this video was helpful, if it blessed you, and don't forget to share it with someone that you think it might help and bless as well. Till next time.